You're listening to the first episode of the Somali Spirit podcast. My name is Araaweelo, and I'll be your guide on this journey to uncover intriguing aspects of Somali tradition, history, and culture. We are launching this podcast with a topic that is very rich and fascinating: Somali traditional medicine, or as we call it in Somali, dhawo daqamed. So this is not just about herbs and medicine. It's a worldview, a way of seeing the body, the spirit, and the land as one. The Somali Peninsula, or the Horn of Africa, has long been more than a corner of the map. For millennia, it was the junction of worlds: Africa, Arabia, and Asia, connected by trade winds and sea routes. One of the most fascinating links comes from ancient Egypt. In their records, Egyptians describe a mystical land called Punt, renowned for incense and healing goods. And many scholars believe that Punt was in the Horn of Africa, and most likely modern-day Somalia. Historian Richard Pankhurst said that Egyptians considered the land of Punt as Ta-Nacher, God's land. From there came export of gold, aromatic gums, ebony, and exotic animals. And this was not just commerce, it was actually exchange of sacred medicine. The resins of Punt, frankincense, luban, and mir, malmal, as we call it in Somali, became central to Egyptian healing, spirituality, and even embalming rituals. In fact, the oldest medical text that we know, the Ebers Papyrus from 1500 BCE, lists both frankincense and myrrh among its remedies for wounds, skin problems, and digestive ailments. Already in pharaonic Egypt, Somali resins were considered life-giving. But their influence did not stop in Africa. Frankincense and myrrh became some of the most sought-after commodities in the ancient world. The Roman Empire spent vast amounts of money to import them, burning frankincense in temples and using myrrh in perfumes and medicine. At one point, Pliny the Elder wrote that Rome's appetite for incense was draining its gold reserves. And in the story of Christianity, these resins take on an even deeper meaning. According to the Gospel of Matthew, the three wise men brought the infant Jesus gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These were not just random offerings. They were the most sacred substances of the time, and their source was the Somali Peninsula. Think about that. The very birth of Christianity is marked by Somali resins. Frankincense symbolized divinity and prayer. Myrrh symbolized healing and sacrifice. Somalia was at the heart of this sacred global exchange, and the influence stretches even further east. In Chinese traditional medicine, frankincense is called rucheng, and myrrh is moyao, and both are used to invigorate the blood, relieve pain, and heal wounds. And these resins traveled along the Silk Road, showing how Somali products shaped healing systems as far away as China. So when we talk about Somali herbalism, we're not talking about something marginal. We're talking about a knowledge system that has shaped Egyptian medicine, Roman spirituality, Christian symbolism, and Chinese traditional medicine. Somalia was not just at the periphery, it was actually central to the world's medical and spiritual traditions. Somali traditional medicine is not an abstract science hidden in books. It is woven into a daily life. Every Somali household, whether in the cities of Mogadishu or Hargeisa or throughout the diaspora, carries some form of dhawo daqamed. And let's begin with the most iconic one: frankincense, luban. In many Somali homes, morning and evenings begin with the burning of luban on a small device we call girgira. The smoke cleanses the home, uplifts the spirit, and welcomes guests. Mothers often use it to fumigate clothes, bedding, and even to welcome people in the family. It is believed to strengthen the body and to protect against ain, the evil eye. Modern science now confirms that frankincense smoke has antimicrobial properties, killing germs in the air. And studies even suggest that compounds in frankincense can reduce anxiety and depression, echoing what Somalis have long known: luban soothes both space and the soul. And now myrrh. If you've ever had a toothache in Somalia, chances are somebody offered you malmal, a small piece of gum resin that is chewed to numb pain and cleanse the mouth. Women preparing for childbirth sometimes keep myrrh close. It is used to clean wounds and prevent infections. Elders tell stories of long camel journeys when a herder injured himself and only had myrrh in his saddlebag. He chewed it and pressed it onto the wound, preventing infection until he returned home. Science now shows that myrrh has strong antiseptic properties, validating generations of pastoral wisdom. Every Somali child knows the bitterness of aloe vera. Mothers will slice the fleshy leaf, squeeze its juice, and apply it to cuts, burns, or itchy skin. Some even give it mixed with honey for stomach ailments, despite its sharp taste. Imagine a hot afternoon in a nomadic village. A child touches the cooking pot and burns his hand. The nearest clinic might be days away, but the aloe plant growing in the wild is cut and its cool gel applied. Relief is immediate. Healing is accelerated. That is the magic of Gedar, medicine at your doorstep. Now neem. Neem is often called the pharmacy tree. In Somali homes, its bitter leaves are boiled into tea for malaria, stomach upsets, or fevers. A story often told is of travelers who fell ill with fever near the Shabelle River. With no doctor nearby, villagers brewed neem tea, and within days the fever broke. Today, researchers confirm neem's anti-malarial, antifungal, and antibacterial effects. Henna. Henna is not only for beauty, adorning brides' hands and hair, it is also medicine. Mothers crush fresh henna leaves and apply them to the soles of a feverish child to draw out the heat. Women use it for fungal infections, dandruff, or to cool the body in Somalia's relentless heat. One Somali proverb even says, "Hinnaha quruh ya'afimad buleehay." Henna gives beauty, but also gives health. Somali healing is not only about plants, it's about rituals of care. When someone is sick, neighbors bring broth infused with garlic, ginger, and black cumin, hawash. These are not only nourishing, but also antimicrobial. Women, after childbirth, go into a period called umulis, and they are kept warm with herbal infusions and fumigated with special resins that cleanse the womb and restore strength. During the rainy season, when colds spread, families prepare teas with cloves, cinnamon, and cardamom. This is the world-famous Somali shah. These are not just foreign luxuries. They came through Somali ports, and they became parts of our healing pantry. Healing in Somalia is rarely done in isolation. The market in Hargeisa or Bosaso is as much a pharmacy as a place of trade. Herbalists sit with piles of dried roots, resins, and barks, advising people on treatments. Picture an elder woman sitting by her stall, pointing to jars of powdered herbs. A mother approaches with her coughing child. The herbalist mixes a little bit of myrrh with honey, gives instructions, and tells her, "Ilahi ba'afimad kahaya." God is the true healer. This phrase captures the essence of Somali medicine. Human knowledge and natural remedies are tools, but healing is ultimately spiritual. In Somali traditional medicine, healing is never purely physical. Health is seen as a woven fabric. If one thread is torn, the whole garment is affected. The threads include the body, jirka, the mind, maskahda, the spirit, ruha, and the Somali community, burshada. This means a headache is never just a headache. A cough is never just a cough. Illness is understood as layered: physical, spiritual, emotional, and communal. Take, for example, the concept of udur ruh, spiritual illness. This is not about bacteria or viruses, but about imbalance, grief, or spiritual disturbance. A person may feel exhausted, disconnected, or even haunted. The response is not only to give herbs, but also to listen to the story of the wound, to recite Quranic verses, ruqiyah, and to involve family or elders in restoring balance. Then there is Ain, the evil eye. Somalis believe that envy or malice, even unintentionally expressed, can manifest as illness or misfortune. If someone praises a child without invoking God's blessing, mashallah, the child might become sick or restless. Protection here might include amulets, hirsi, burning incense, unsi, or specific recitations to shield the person's energy. And of course there is jinn, or spirit possession. While some cases today might be diagnosed in psychiatry as psychosis or dissociation, within Somali culture, they're often seen as encounters with otherworldly consciousness. Healing requires not just medical attention, but spiritual dialogue, Quranic reading, community rituals, and negotiation with the unseen world. There's a famous Somali proverb that says, "Hanunan lishigin lugumadueyo." An unspoken illness cannot be healed. This wisdom teaches us that for healing to begin, the pain, whether physical or spiritual, must first be acknowledged. Silence is sickness. Expression is medicine. Interestingly, modern research is beginning to catch up with this worldview. Studies from Harvard and other institutions have shown that when trauma therapy integrates cultural, rituals, spiritual meaning, and storytelling, patients recover more effectively. For example, Survivors of war or displacement often respond better when healing acknowledges their faith and culture rather than pathologizing it. A 2004 Harvard review concluded that cultural rituals help address psychosomatic and trauma-related illness by giving meaning to suffering and involving the community in recovery. This is exactly what Somali traditional healing has always done. Somali healers also use dhikr, remembrance of God, Quranic recitation, and even poetry as medicine. The spoken word carries energy. A line of poetry can lift despair. A Quranic verse can calm the heart. An elder's blessing can soothe an anxious mind. In this sense, Somali medicine is not just about the body. It is a medicine of words, meanings, and relationships. It recognizes that wounds are not only in the flesh, but in the unseen, and that true healing must embrace both. This brings us to a crucial question. Why is it so important to preserve Somali traditional medicine today? Well, first, because it's a living library. Every plant, every proverb, every ritual carries millennia of unique knowledge about the land, about survival, about the body and the soul. If we lose it, we lose not only healing practices, but also a way of understanding the world. Secondly, because preserving Somali medicine means preserving resilience. This tradition has carried Somali people through drought, displacement, colonization, and war. It has been a source of hope and survival when hospitals were far away, when resources were scarce, when life demanded creativity. And finally, because in an age of mental health crisis, trauma, and disconnection, Somali medicine offers something modern systems often lack: a recognition that healing must touch the whole person, not just the cells, but the story, not just the symptoms, but the soul. There's a Somali saying that says, "Hadi ang dhaqan keena ilalin, nafti na mabuksan karto." If we do not protect our traditions, our souls cannot heal. This is not about rejecting modern science. In fact, Somali healing and modern science complement one another beautifully. Antibiotics can save lives. Surgery can repair. But culture heals the unseen wounds that medicine alone cannot reach. Consider this. To preserve Somali traditional medicine is to preserve the emotional and spiritual immune system of a people. Just as the body has antibodies to defend against disease, culture provides its own immune system. Stories, rituals, and practices that protect against despair, isolation, and fragmentation. Somali medicine knows the land. It grows from the frankincense tree, the myrrh resin, the neem leaves, and the camel's milk. It speaks the language, using poetry, prayer, and song. And it touches not only the body, but the story behind the wound. We must not forget that healing is not only what you swallow or inject. It is also the memories you honor, the ancestors you remember, and the community who supports your journey. As Somalis say, "Dhaqanku waa dhaxal lagu dhasho, laguna dhaqmo." Culture is an inheritance you are born with and live by. So when you see the smoke of luban rising or taste the sharp bitterness of malmal, remember this. These are not just ancient remedies. They are bridges between the past and the present, between ancestors and descendants, between the body and the soul. Somali medicine reminds us that true healing is holistic. It treats pain while honoring memory, story, and spirit. It tells us that to heal is to belong, to remember, and to find meaning. Thank you for joining me on this first episode of Somali Spirit. If this story touched you, share it, keep the conversation alive, and remember, every story told keeps our roots strong. Until next time, nabadi afimat. Peace and health to you.